Ladies and gentlemen, life is full of people who come into our world as lessons, not blessings. Some are here to show us light, others to test how strong our light can shine. And among the many personalities we encounter, there's one type that often challenges us the most: the narcissist. These are the people who seem to exist in a bubble of their own grandeur, blind to the impact they have on others. But today I want to remind you of something profound. God doesn't miss a thing. He watches everything, hears every word, and sees every action. And when it comes to the narcissist, God moves in ways that no one expects. God operates with a wisdom that goes far beyond human understanding, a wisdom that is deliberate, precise, and rooted in the purest form of grace. When faced with arrogance, God does not rush to punish or destroy. Instead, he dismantles it in a way that speaks to the heart, exposing the truth and creating opportunities for transformation. Arrogance, by its nature, builds walls around the soul, walls of pride, denial, and self-importance. Yet, God, in his infinite patience, doesn't use force to tear those walls down. He uses moments of realization, consequences that teach, and experiences that humble. These are not acts of anger, but acts of divine intervention, carefully designed to bring about awareness. What makes this dismantling so profound is that it often appears subtle at first, almost imperceptible. The narcissist or the arrogant individual may not even realize it's happening. But step by step, God chips away at the false foundation they've built. He allows situations to unfold where their self-centeredness becomes their undoing. Relationships may falter, their influence may wane, or their own actions might catch up with them. Yet, even in these moments, God's intention is not to harm but to heal. His grace is woven into every outcome, offering the chance to see the truth and make a change. Arrogance thrives on the illusion of control, on the belief that one is self-sufficient and untouchable. But God's wisdom reveals the fragility of that illusion. He shows that no matter how high someone builds themselves up, they cannot escape the reality of their limitations. This revelation is not meant to break them, but to redirect them, to turn their focus from themselves to something greater. It's a call to humility, to vulnerability, and ultimately to redemption. God's dismantling of arrogance is not just for the benefit of the individual, but for everyone they've affected. It restores balance and creates space for healing in the lives of those who may have been hurt by their actions. But perhaps the most extraordinary aspect of this process is God's grace. Even as he challenges the narcissist, his love for them remains unwavering. He doesn't humiliate, he educates. He doesn't destroy, he builds anew. His grace is the guiding force, ensuring that every step of the journey is rooted in love and hope for transformation. God's justice operates with a purpose that is both humbling and restorative, reminding us that he is both righteous and merciful. When someone allows pride or selfishness to consume their actions, God steps in not to crush them under the weight of their mistakes, but to open their eyes to the truth. His justice humbles, not as a punishment, but as a lesson designed to reach the deepest parts of the soul. It's in this humbling that people are brought face to face with their own humanity, their limitations, and the consequences of their actions. Humbling is not humiliation. It's not meant to strip someone of their dignity, but to strip them of the false sense of control and superiority they've clung to. God's justice gently but firmly reminds us all that we are not the authors of life's script, that there is a greater power guiding everything. For the narcissist or the proud-hearted, this realization can feel like the ground beneath their feet has disappeared. They may lose status, relationships, or the things they used to define their worth. But even in the midst of these losses, God's mercy is at work, preparing the soil for something better to grow. Mercy is what turns justice into a pathway for restoration. God doesn't leave anyone in the dust of their mistakes. Instead, he reaches out with grace, offering them the chance to rebuild. His mercy doesn't erase the consequences of actions, but it offers a way forward, a new beginning, a second chance. This mercy isn't earned, it's freely given, an act of love that seeks to heal rather than harm. Even in the face of arrogance, God's mercy remains steadfast, showing that his ultimate goal is not retribution but reconciliation. This dynamic between justice and mercy is what makes God's actions so transformative. Justice ensures that truth is revealed and lessons are learned. Mercy ensures that those lessons lead to growth rather than despair. Together, they create a powerful combination that can turn even the hardest heart back toward humility and love. It's a reminder that no matter how far someone may stray, no matter how lost they may seem in their pride or self-importance, God's justice will humble them and His mercy will restore them, offering a path back to wholeness and purpose. Transformation is not just a distant possibility, it is an absolute certainty when God is involved, no matter how hard or unyielding a heart may seem. There is no such thing as a soul too far gone, no level of pride, arrogance, or resistance that can outmatch the persistence and love of God. Hard hearts often develop as a defense mechanism, built layer by layer through pain, disappointment, or a relentless need for control. Yet, these barriers are no match for the divine power of transformation. God doesn't force change upon anyone, but He orchestrates circumstances so profoundly that even the most stubborn individual cannot help but confront the truth. The process is often slow, deliberate, and deeply personal. Transformation begins with moments that challenge the comfort zone, shaking the foundation upon which pride or ego has been built. These moments are not random, they are carefully crafted by God to serve as wake-up calls, pushing the individual to recognize their need for something greater than themselves. For the hardest hearts, this realization can feel overwhelming. It's like standing in the face of a storm, where every illusion of control is stripped away. But it's in this vulnerability that the groundwork for change is laid. God doesn't stop at breaking down defenses. He begins rebuilding with love, grace, and purpose. Transformation is not about punishment, but about renewal. It's about taking the pieces of a life that once revolved around self-centeredness and reshaping them into something meaningful and impactful. Even the most resistant heart has the capacity for change because God never gives up. He patiently works through every opportunity, using circumstances, people, and even failures to soften what seems unchangeable. This kind of transformation requires a willingness to let go of old ways, and though the process is painful, it's also liberating. A hardened heart is often burdened by its own weight, by the need to maintain control or prove itself to others. When transformation occurs, that burden is lifted. The individual is free to experience life in a way they never imagined, with humility, compassion, and a sense of connection to God's greater plan. No heart is beyond redemption because God's love is infinite and His power to transform is unmatched. The hardest hearts, when touched by His hand, become testimonies to His glory, proving that nothing is impossible for the one who created them. Transformation is not just a possibility, it is the inevitable outcome of surrendering to the grace and love of God. God's timing operates on a level that is far beyond human comprehension. In a world where people crave immediate results and instant gratification, it can be difficult to trust in a timeline that doesn't always align with personal desires or expectations. Yet, His timing is never early and never late, it is always perfect. This perfection is not measured by human standards, but by divine wisdom, which sees the beginning, the end, and everything in between. God orchestrates events in such a way that they unfold precisely when they are meant to, not a moment sooner or later, to fulfill His greater plan. There are moments in life when it feels like God's timing is delayed, especially in the face of adversity or unanswered prayers. People may grow frustrated or impatient, questioning why things aren't happening as they wish. But in these moments, it's essential to understand that delays are not denials. What seems like a delay is often God's way of preparing, teaching, or protecting. He may be positioning people, shaping circumstances, or even refining the individual so they can fully embrace what is coming. His plans are never haphazard or reactive. They are deliberate, thoughtful, and crafted with the utmost care for each person's growth and purpose. When His timing finally manifests, it's undeniable. Doors open that no one else could have unlocked. Opportunities arise that seem almost impossible by human standards. Even the challenges and obstacles faced along the way begin to make sense as they are revealed to have been necessary steps in the journey. God's plans are not only undeniable, they are unstoppable. No amount of human interference, no act of resistance, and no scheme of arrogance can override what God has set in motion. He has the final word, and His plans always prevail. What makes His timing and plans so extraordinary is that they are rooted in love and purpose. God doesn't act randomly or without intention. Every step of his plan is designed for the ultimate good, even if it doesn't feel that way in the moment. This requires trust that his perspective is infinite while ours is limited, trust that he knows what we need even when we don't, and trust that every moment, whether it feels triumphant or painful, is part of a divine tapestry being woven together for something far greater than we can imagine. Revenge, by its nature, consumes the soul. It fills the heart with anger, bitterness, and an unquenchable desire to settle the score. Yet, in the grand scheme of life, revenge is unnecessary because God's justice is sufficient. His justice operates on a plane far higher than human understanding, and it is not bound by the limitations of emotions, bias, or short-sightedness. While people may feel the urge to retaliate when wronged, that impulse is often rooted in pain and pride, neither of which can bring true peace. God's justice, however, is perfect, precise, and healing, delivering outcomes that restore balance without compromising the soul. When someone seeks revenge, they often trap themselves in a cycle of negativity. Revenge does not bring satisfaction, it merely prolongs the wound, tethering the person to the very pain they seek to escape. God, in his infinite wisdom, understands this and calls us to release that burden to him. His justice ensures that wrongs are addressed, but in a way that doesn't corrupt the heart of the one who has been wronged. To leave matters in his hands is not an act of weakness, but of faith, trusting that he sees all, knows all, and will act in due time. God's justice is not driven by anger or retribution, but by righteousness. He balances the scales in ways that human hands cannot. Where revenge seeks to destroy, God's justice aims to correct, to teach, and to restore. Even those who cause harm are not beyond his reach. His justice holds them accountable while offering them the chance to change. This approach ensures that every outcome serves a higher purpose, one that often extends beyond what we can see or understand in the moment. Letting go of revenge is not easy. It requires humility, patience, and a deep belief that God is in control. It's natural to want immediate resolution, to feel that justice must happen now in a way that satisfies our sense of fairness. But God's timing and methods are perfect. He knows the hearts of all involved, and he orchestrates outcomes that are far more impactful than anything human effort could achieve. By trusting in his justice, we free ourselves from the emotional and spiritual toll of revenge, allowing his peace to take root in our lives. Ultimately, revenge offers nothing but emptiness, while God's justice brings true resolution. It reminds us that we are not the ultimate judges, that role belongs to him alone. By surrendering the need to avenge ourselves, we step into a place of faith and freedom, where we can heal and move forward, knowing that God's justice is more than enough to make all things right. Hope and trust in God's love are the anchors that hold us steady when life feels shattered and broken. There is no wound too deep, no betrayal too sharp, and no heartbreak too overwhelming that God's love cannot reach. His love is not just a comforting sentiment, it is a powerful, transformative force that transcends every form of brokenness. When life leaves us feeling lost or defeated, trusting in his love allows us to rise again, stronger and more resilient. It's a reminder that even in our darkest moments, we are not alone and we are never beyond repair. Brokenness often comes with a sense of finality, as though something vital has been irreparably lost. This is where hope in God becomes essential. He specializes in restoration, taking what seems shattered and making it whole in ways we could never imagine. Trusting in his love means believing that he can take even the most painful experiences and turn them into something meaningful. It's not about erasing the scars, but about transforming them into symbols of strength and redemption. Through him, what once felt like the end can become the beginning of something beautiful. God's love doesn't promise a life without hardship, but it does promise that no hardship is without purpose. In moments of despair, his love serves as a guiding light, reminding us that our worth is not determined by our circumstances or the opinions of others. Trusting in that love means letting go of the need to have all the answers and instead leaning into his infinite wisdom and grace. It's in this surrender that we find peace, not because the situation has changed, but because our perspective has been lifted above the pain. Hope is not passive, it's an active choice to believe in something greater, even when the evidence around us seems to suggest otherwise. Trusting in God's love requires faith in his promises, even when life feels like a series of unanswered questions. It's about holding on to the belief that he is working behind the scenes, orchestrating events in ways that will ultimately lead to healing and joy. This trust allows us to keep moving forward, one step at a time, even when the path ahead seems unclear. God's love transcends brokenness because it is unconditional and unchanging. While human love can falter or fail, his love is steadfast, a foundation that cannot be shaken. It doesn't depend on our actions or worthiness, it simply is always and forever. By placing our hope and trust in that love, we find the strength to overcome any challenge, the courage to face any sorrow, and the assurance that no matter how broken we may feel, we are never beyond the reach of his healing and grace. In the grand design of life, God's ways are often beyond human understanding, yet they are always purposeful, just, and rooted in infinite love. The narrative of his interaction with the narcissist, or indeed with any of us, reveals his mastery in orchestrating events that humble the proud, transform the hardest hearts, and restore balance through divine justice. God works in ways that dismantle arrogance, not with brute force, but with grace, offering lessons that illuminate the path to redemption. His justice humbles, not to condemn, but to open the door for mercy and restoration, reminding us that no one is beyond his reach. What stands out is his timing, perfect and undeniable. Even when it feels delayed, it is precisely aligned with a greater plan, proving that he is always working for our ultimate good. God's justice removes the need for revenge, showing that trusting him brings peace and healing far beyond what human efforts can achieve. At the same time, his love transcends every brokenness, offering hope to those who feel irreparably shattered and assuring us that his transformative power can renew even the most hardened of hearts. This speech calls us to look beyond the surface, to trust in God's timing, to release the weight of vengeance, and to embrace the transformative potential of his love. In the end, God's ways not only shock but inspire. They remind us that his plans are perfect, his justice is enough, and his love is boundless. Whether we see ourselves in the narcissist or in those who have been hurt by one, the message remains clear: through humility, transformation, and trust, God's divine wisdom prevails. His grace offers all of us the chance to become more, to heal, and to step into the purpose he has for our lives.